Barman, Dean Jones, members of the Board of Trustees, officers of the university, deans and vice presidents, guests of honor, members of the faculty, candidates for graduation and their family and friends. Welcome to the 154th Annual Commencement of Loyola University Chicago for the Graduate School and the Institute of Pastoral Studies. As we begin, I'd like to draw your attention to the university's land acknowledgement statement on the inside front cover of your program, honoring the heritage of the grounds we walk. Now, will everyone who is able please stand as the Loyola Wind Ensemble plays the national anthem. We ask that you remain standing until after Dr. Daniel P. Rhodes, Clinical Associate Professor and Faculty Coordinator of Contextual Education in the Institute of Pastoral Studies, gives the invocation.
Good afternoon. Let us pray. O Holy One, we thank you for bringing us to this point. And we rejoice on this day for having come so far. Creator God, giver of life, you have held and nourished us along the way. In effort, struggle, and success, you have sustained us. As we pass today to a new stage before us, we ask that you strengthen us, O God, to embrace the responsibilities that come with the gifts, achievements, and abilities you have granted us. We ask that you also save us from a mentality that would lead us to see these gifts and achievements as simply for our good, that we are mere brands or self-investments. Let us go from this place of learning and growth into a world of need, devoting our training and acumen to others so that this might not just be a day of celebration, but a lasting start to a better society and world. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Rhodes. Will everyone please be seated? It is now my pleasure to present Dr. Emily Barman, Dean of the Graduate School and Vice Provost for Graduate Education.
Thank you, Provost Callahan. Honored graduates and guests, it is with pleasure that I welcome you to Loyola University Chicago's 154th Annual Commencement Exercises. We are here today to recognize the tremendous accomplishments of our graduates. We welcome you here today and look forward to this event. This commencement ceremony marks the culmination of several years of your scholarly effort and dedication. As graduate students, you have accomplished much in your time here at Loyola. Now, with your graduate degree in hand, you are rightly poised to go forth and to use the knowledge, skills, and experience you have gained here to pursue your dreams, accomplish great things, and leave the world a better place than you found it. We are so proud that you are joining the ranks of our alumni, and we look forward to what you will accomplish next. Now, let us get on with the happy business of the day, your graduation. Congratulations. It's my pleasure to now introduce Dr. Peter Jones, Interim Dean of the Institute of Pastoral Studies.
Thank you, Dean Barman. Family members and friends, and most importantly, members of the class of 2024, it is my honor and a true joy to welcome you to the 154th Annual Commencement Exercises of Loyola University Chicago. I'm delighted to celebrate with you on this wonderful occasion. In the Catholic tradition, we find an exhortation to be attentive to, quote, read the signs of the times, and then to respond compassionately and passionately. You are encouraged at Loyola to read the signs of the times with an eye on accompanying others through these times, to be persons for others. In fact, you all chose more. You've chosen and succeeded in graduate school. Now you are about to commence, to begin the next stage, and thank God. Thank you. Thank you to your parents, your families, your friends, all of those who have encouraged and supported you. Congratulations for this momentous achievement.
Thank you, Dean Barman and Dean Jones. With pleasure, I now present Emily S. Gumper, candidate for the degree Master of Arts in Pastoral Studies, who will offer some remarks on behalf of the graduates.
Thank you, Provost Callahan. Hello, Loyola graduates, professors, family, and friends. I'm honored to offer a brief reflection on behalf of the students of the Institute of Pastoral Studies. When I was a kid, I had a lot of big ideas about my future. I would tell people I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, maybe an astronomer. When one of my aunts told me she imagined me as a minister, I think I might have actually laughed, thinking, wow, she really doesn't know me. I may have even been a little offended because privately, I thought at that time that people who believed in God were kind of silly. I really did. What I believed in was the power of my mind and determination to take me somewhere important sounding. But my aunt saw something in me I didn't see or know then. Well, I'm not a minister exactly, but I'm a chaplain, and it took me 47 years to get here. One thing I've particularly loved about my time at Loyola is meeting my fellow students and hearing about the many different paths they have taken. For many of us, the paths have been winding. My own path has led through multiple degree programs, work as an immigration legal services attorney, and parenting 3 wonderful kids with my husband, Mike. It has also led through hospital rooms and doctors' offices on the patient side of things, as my loved ones experience serious medical issues. In one of those rooms, I met a hospital chaplain, and I began a conversation with her. That brief meeting was a turning point leading me to begin study and training to become a chaplain. This has been a journey of discovering faith and trust in a spirit greater than the force of my own knowledge and determination. It has also been a journey of learning how to learn, not just from the knowledge and expertise of other people, but from their hearts and their lived experience. As a chaplain, I get to listen to the stories of the paths people have taken in their lives. These stories and these paths are sacred. Today, let us honor the sacred paths each of us has taken to get here. Let us celebrate the people who see us, who see who we are well before we see it ourselves. Let's give thanks for this community of teachers and learners who have shared not just their knowledge and their expertise, but their hearts and their truths. Congratulations, class of 2024. May you continue to travel your sacred paths, however winding, with joy, trust, and gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. It is now my pleasure to welcome back Dean Barman, who will introduce our commencement speaker, Dr. Danny Bernard Martin.
Thank you, Provost Callahan. I am delighted to introduce our commencement speaker, a professor of education and mathematics at the University of Illinois at Chicago, the author of multiple books and articles, and the recipients of several prestigious grants and awards. Dr. Danny Bernard Martin is a nationally recognized expert on inclusive pedagogy for mathematics education. His innovative approach, rigorous research, and passionate advocacy have extended the field of mathematics beyond analyses that focus on failure, instead foregrounding the voices of Black learners and the mathematics educators committed to their success. His research shows that we cannot reform the project of mathematics education away from its dialectical relationships to white supremacy, anti-Blackness, and racial capitalism. New forms of math education worthy of Black children are needed. Dr. Martin's work has done nothing less than change the discourse about teaching, learning, participation, and policy in mathematics education. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Martin.
Good afternoon. One more time. Good afternoon. Thank you. I want to extend a warm thank you and welcome to President Reed, Provost Callahan, Dean and Vice Provost Barman, Dean Jones, faculty and administrators, family and friends, and of course, the Loyola University Chicago graduating class of 2024. Give it up. It is an honor and a privilege for me to share in your day of celebration. But I must admit that I'm not totally sure how I came to be considered as your commencement speaker. I certainly do not consider myself famous or widely known beyond my small area of research. As a professor, I've spent the past 30 years or so doing the typical, sometimes mundane things that professors do, including writing papers and books that only a small number of people care about or ever see. In my academic work as a mathematics educator, I study issues of race and identity. Because I study race and have a deep commitment to racial justice, my work at times has been deemed controversial or provocative. In the context of this commencement speech, where I'm supposed to share some words of wisdom, I do not have time to share the details of my research on mathematics, identity, and race, but I think I can give you a small glimpse by way of examples. I will then use those examples to offer today's graduates a few pieces of advice as you celebrate your wonderful new academic degrees and accomplishments. By show of hands, and this includes everyone here, how many mathematicians are in the room today? Please raise your hand. Mathematicians. Okay, thank you. You can put your hands down now. Now, how many people in the room have a PhD in mathematics? Raise your hand. Thank you. You can put your hands down now. My first question was, who is a mathematician? My second question was, who has a PhD in mathematics? These similar but different questions are questions about identity, how we see ourselves, how we think others see us, and what criteria we use and others use to ascertain and assign our identities. I've posed these two questions to many audiences around the country, and the results are usually the same. When I ask people to raise their hands if they are a mathematician, relatively few people raise their hands. Even fewer people raise their hands when I ask who has a PhD in mathematics. The truth is that people with PhDs in mathematics are just one of many groups of people who do mathematics. There are many other cultural groups who do specialized forms of mathematics on a daily basis. Other groups of people who do mathematics include 3-year-old children, nurses, carpenters, and musicians, just to name a few examples. In my research, the issue that has concerned me for more than 30 years is why so many people across all races, genders, and socioeconomic backgrounds do not see themselves as mathematicians, even when they do mathematics in different areas of their lives and routinely participate in various kinds of mathematical activities. In research terms, I study mathematics identities and how they do or do not intersect with our other social identities. Now, why is this important? Imagine the potentially devastating consequences when a middle school math teacher does not see themselves as a mathematician, even after teaching mathematics for many years to hundreds of students. It becomes extremely difficult to convince your students to invest in mathematics if your own identity is not invested in it. Or imagine being a fourth grader who struggles with fractions, and you go on to believe for the rest of your life that you are not a math person. What makes my research provocative and controversial to some people is that I'm especially interested in how and why Black American children and adults do or do not come to see themselves as doers of mathematics. I'm especially interested in the kinds of experiences that shape Black children's identities as people who can or cannot do mathematics. How do Black children respond to stereotypes that suggest Black people are less intelligent than other people and cannot do mathematics? How do they respond to stereotypes that suggest people in other social groups are good at mathematics? So let me briefly introduce you to 3 mathematicians, all of whom have spent their entire lives doing mathematics in various contexts. The first mathematician was born in 1943. She grew up in rural Florida in materially poor living conditions. Because she had her first child at a young age, she was not able to finish her formal schooling. During her adult life, she worked various jobs, ranging from picking apples and oranges on the East Coast of the United States to working as a certified nursing assistant well into her 60s. Throughout her life, this mathematician faced some of the most stinging forms of racism one could imagine. In the spring of 1965, while pregnant with her only son, this mathematician had to suddenly flee the state of Mississippi or face risking her life and the lives of her in-laws and their family members. She had to flee because one day she had been called the N-word while shopping in a local store and refused to accept this treatment. She spoke up, exerted her identity as a free Black woman, and resisted. Across her working years, this mathematician rarely earned more than $15,000 to $20,000 per year. However, her mathematical optimization skills and budgeting and financial calculus were superb. They had to be superb because she had to raise 4 children. Despite her own lack of a high school diploma, bachelor's degree, master's degree, or PhD, she raised a nurse, an entrepreneur, a school paraprofessional, and a university professor. The second mathematician was born in The second mathematician was born in 1940. He grew up on a family farm in one of the most rural areas of Mississippi. This mathematician was not able to obtain much formal schooling beyond the first couple of elementary grades. Like the first mathematician, he faced brutal racism across much of his life. During his early years, he also worked as a fruit picker up and down the East Coast of the United States. In fact, the second mathematician met the first mathematician while they were picking apples in the state of New York. In the spring of 1965, these two mathematicians would migrate from the Deep South to the state of Wisconsin and start their family. Mathematician number 2 would go on to work for the same steel company as a welder for 25 years before retiring. In between recent bouts of memory loss, mathematician number 2 likes to tell stories about his expert welding accomplishments and the mathematical precision that it would take to make sure the big industrial projects were done according to technical specifications. The third mathematician was born in 2012. He currently lives in Chicago with his 2 parents, both of whom teach mathematics at a local university. In my humble opinion, he might be the most brilliant mathematician of the 3. Not only are his mathematical skills superb, but he's a wonderful human being who cares about justice. Although he's only in the 5th grade, he would tell you that he's an expert in Duolingo, a game-style learning program that is available online. Importantly, when mathematician number 3 is asked whether he's good at mathematics, he does not hesitate to say that he is. He already sees himself as a mathematician, as judged not only by his words, but also by his willingness to seek out patterns, to develop his own secret codes, and his wonderful speculations and observations about numbers in the world. Now, you're probably wondering why I took you on this somewhat unusual path in talking about math, race, and identity, and talking about these 3 people as mathematicians when none of them has a degree in mathematics. My purpose was not to say that anything is everything and everyone gets a mathematical trophy. However, it is important to recognize and uplift the ways in which all of us do mathematics on an everyday basis and in areas that are not widely considered to be math-focused. In closing, I want to say this. Your degrees are wonderful, absolutely wonderful. They represent years of hard work and sacrifice. They will open doors to new opportunities and change the course of your lives. They will serve as inspiration to your family members and children. However, do not let your degree or multiple degrees define or confine your identity and how you see yourself. Your degree is a credential in a society that values credentials. Your degree is not the full representation of who you are. My degrees do not make me better than the 2 mathematicians who brought me into this world and who engaged in a lifetime of uncelebrated mathematics that was necessary to survive and occasionally thrive in this world. Your degrees are only part of the story of who you are. Please celebrate your identities and all the forms of knowledge you have developed that are not rooted in school accomplishments, that are not frequently acknowledged in school contexts. Also, maintain your respect for those people around you who could not come to Loyola, who have master's degrees and PhDs in life and survival. Congratulations and good luck to each and every one of you, and thank you for hearing me today.
Thank you, Dr. Martin, for your thoughtful and inspiring words. The candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy will now be presented. Emily Barman, Dean of the Graduate School and Vice Provost of Graduate Education, will make the recommendations to the President, who in turn will confer the degrees. I would like to invite Dr. Barman and President Reed to the podium.
Thank you. Will the candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy from the Graduate School please rise? President Reed, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy. The candidates have fulfilled all the requirements for their degree, and I recommend that the degrees be conferred upon them.
Candidates, upon the recommendation of the Dean of the Graduate School and its faculty, and by the authority granted to Loyola University Chicago, by the state of Illinois, and vested in me by the university's Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the Doctor of Philosophy degrees for which you have been recommended. Congratulations.
candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy will now come forward to be recognized by name as directed by the marshals. In recognition of the unique relationship between dissertation directors, advisors, and their students, the dissertation directors and advisors will hood the graduates. Ms. Heather Sevener, Associate Dean of Student Academic Services, will read the names of the candidates. Candidates who have not been taken out of their rows by the marshals yet may be seated. And family and friends, please remain in your seats and hold your applause until all the degrees have been recognized so that each candidate's name may be heard by their family and loved ones. Guests are not permitted on the arena floor or near the stage. Professional photographers are taking photos of the graduates, and these photos will be available to you in the coming days. Thank you for your cooperation.
Dr. Sarah Abuhadba. Dr. Abuhadba studied the development of dyes for photocatalysis and biological sensing. Dr. Abuhadba's dissertation was received with distinction. Dr. Isla Basic. Dr. Basic studied savoring's interventional effect on bereaved older adults. Dr. Lucas Andrew Bensley. Dr. Bensley studied the history of adult entertainment and censorship politics in Chicago. Dr. Emily Buddy. Dr. Buddy studied the impacts of risk, trust, and goals on confronting sexism. Dr. Catherine Frances Bisher. Dr. Bisher studied, named, and described the phenomenon silent forgiveness. Dr. Victoria Elizabeth Calais. Dr. Calais studied the racialization of higher education digital campus spaces and their relationship to whiteness. Dr. Lisa C. Castillo Richmond. Dr. Castillo Richmond studied how cabinet teams led by women presidents advance racial equity in higher education. Dr. Thomas Joseph Callan IV. Dr. Callan studied how China financed infrastructure projects perform in sub-Saharan African democracies. Dr. Karina Yvette Castro-Pavon. Dr. Castro-Pavon studied how institutional websites communicate information for prospective undocumented students. Dr. Castro-Pavon's degree was received with distinction. Dr. Cynthia Chaidez. Dr. Chaidez studied how a DACA initiative resulted in transformative organizational change at a medical school. Dr. Fabiola Rosiles Duran. Dr. Rosiles Duran studied how parental support influences first-generation Latina college student success. Dr. Wenya Chen. Dr. Chen studied the empirical identification of the bifactor IRT model of rating data. Dr. Sean Robert Cleary. Dr. Cleary studied the dynamic regulation of calcium signaling in cardiac muscle cells. Dr. Alyssa Ann D'Amico with distinction. Dr. D'Amico studied the causal effect of climate displacement on conflict outcomes. Dr. Joseph Martin Butler. Dr. Butler studied the impact of PWIs on self-identified African American male attrition. Dr. Hannah Marie Alves Hagee with distinction. Dr. Hagee studied the effects of behavioral and psychological factors on cognitive profiles across the menopausal transition. Dr. Elizabeth Ray. Dr. Ray studied sleep and well-being in adolescents and young adults. Dr. Christopher Robert Hansen with distinction. Dr. Hansen studied the relationship between adolescent gender identity, expression, and well-being. Dr. Adam J. High. Dr. High studied countries with dominant political parties and the strength of democracy. Dr. Hillary Elizabeth Yale with distinction. Dr. Yale studied patients' values and preferences in healthcare documentation using natural language processing. Dr. Julie Chafee. Dr. Chafee studied clinical social workers who transitioned to telemental health during the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Joshua Thomas King with distinction. Dr. King studied purity for non-Jews in the Pseudo-Clementine homilies. Dr. Sarah E. Kralichek. Dr. Kralichek studied genetic and phenotypic virulence factors and clinical manifestations of atypical enteropathogenic E. coli. Dr. Gina Elizabeth Lebkatcher with distinction. Dr. Lebkatcher studied virtue ethics, Confucianism, and the theory's responses to contemporary criticisms. Dr. Hannah Lee with distinction. Dr. Lee studied the impact of discrimination on Asian Americans' collective racial identity and intergroup solidarity. Dr. Hua Jing Lee. Dr. Lee studied the effects of couples' boundary management differences on their well-being. Dr. Michelle Schooler Dodson. Dr. Dodson studied how a multiracial church's racial discourse informs its social engagement. Dr. Stéphanie Jean-Baptiste. Dr. Jean-Baptiste studied local imaginaries that Haitians have of non-governmental organizations. Dr. Alida Jessica Garrett. Dr. Garrett studied secondary traumatic stress through the lived experiences of Black women teachers. Dr. Jesus Eduardo Ramos. Dr. Ramos studied how counter-narratives disrupt the internalization of dominant narratives in adolescence. Dr. Kevin Michael Miller. Dr. Miller studied the phenomenon of how youth internalize out-of-school program experiences. Dr. Joseph N. Mukuna. Dr. Mukuna studied the Midrashnic theory of the parting of the ways in the prologue of John's Gospel. Dr. Megan P. Toomey. Dr. Toomey studied the theological ethics of Dietrich Bonhoeffer and its relevance for contemporary Catholic culture. Dr. Zara Fatima Naki Hasnain. Dr. Naki Hasnain studied the prosocial and self-regulatory foundations of critical consciousness development. Dr. Jennifer Lynn Osborne. Dr. Osborne studied reporting discrepancies between caregivers, teachers, and child welfare-involved youth. Dr. Sarah Alicia Jolie. Dr. Jolie studied stress, trauma, and the development of culturally informed interventions for youth. Dr. Kanak Nyan Joshi. Dr. Joshi studied the role of RPK3 kinase in the development of blood cancers. Dr. Colleen Fashing Rainey. Dr. Rainey studied the challenges higher education institutions face when engaging external partnerships. Dr. LaShonda Janice Reese. Dr. Reese studied identity, ethics, and narratives from the Black womanist perspective. Dr. Christopher Nicholas Repa. Dr. Repa studied the unique challenges that step-parents face in schooling their children. Dr. Zachary Joseph Leveris with distinction. Dr. Leveris studied the structural synthesis of inhibitors as potential antibiotics. Dr. Evan T. Marsalek. Dr. Marsalek studied the significance of queer and trans political theory for theology. Dr. Marsalek's dissertation was received with distinction. Dr. Gabriela Martinez Ramirez with distinction. Dr. Martinez Ramirez studied how photosynthetic organisms control the synthesis of starch and glycogen. Dr. Alexander Nelson with distinction. Dr. Nelson studied the mechanisms that control the persistence of allergic diseases. Dr. Olufamu Milayo Ojikutu. Dr. Ojikutu studied how family dynamics and culture impact Nigerian American college students. Dr. Chad M. Osteen. Dr. Osteen studied the effect of threat, uncertainty, and epistemic motivation on candidate preference. Dr. Winda Justicia with distinction. Dr. Justicia studied how affect regulates the impact of belief superiority on cognition. Dr. Erica R. Pinney. Dr. Pinney studied the impact of racism on BIPOC counseling and psychology graduate students' sense of belonging to their chosen field. Dr. Rausa Valauga. Dr. Valauga studied the role of diet in modulating neuroinflammation in health and disease. Dr. Kimberly Vargas Barreto. Dr. Vargas Barreto studied and developed an ethical framework rooted in Dusselian agape. Dr. Erwin Anurutika Wiradwardhana. Dr. Wiradwardhana studied synthetic iron and selenium cultures and atom transfer studies. Dr. Kaylee Valencia Wilkins. Dr. Wilkins studied the effect of generational experiences of trauma in racial and ethnic minority families. Dr. Chongyu Zhang. Dr. Zhang studied the role of extracellular vesicles in cardiovascular diseases. Dr. Kieran Folliard-Reese. Dr. Reese studied how including direct care workers would improve advanced care planning initiatives. Congratulations, graduates.
The candidates for the degree Doctor of Bioethics will now be presented. Dean Barman will make the recommendations to the president, who in turn will confer the degrees.
Will the candidates for the degree Doctor of Bioethics from the Graduate School please rise? President Reed, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the degree Doctor of Bioethics. The candidates have fulfilled all the requirements for their degrees, and I recommend that the degrees be conferred upon them.
Candidates, upon the recommendation of the Dean of the Graduate School and its faculty, and by the authority granted to Loyola University Chicago, by the state of Illinois, and vested in me by the Board of Trustees of this university, I am pleased to confer upon you the Doctor of Bioethics degrees for which you have been recommended. Congratulations.
The candidates for the degree Doctor of Bioethics will now come forward to be recognized by name as directed by the marshals. Graduates will be hooded by Dr. Kayan Parsi, Director of the Graduate Program in Bioethics.
Receiving the degree Doctor of Bioethics. Dr. Kathy Lynn Purvis Lively. Dr. Kenneth Todd Moore. Dr. Kristen Joelle Nibling Izquierdo. Dr. Colleen O'Rourke. Dr. Mary K. Paul. Dr. Maureen Ann Pontarelli. Dr. Mark Tan Kiak Min. Dr. Jennifer Kristen Lagarde Williams. Dr. Donna Avi. Dr. Laurel Lynn Clark. Dr. Lorraine Bruce. Dr. Candace Brochi Fine. Dr. Julie LeMay Vaughn. Dr. Guy James Volpani. Congratulations, graduates.
The candidates for the degree Doctor of Healthcare Mission Leadership will now be presented. Dean Barman will make the recommendations to the president, who will in turn confer the degrees.
Will the candidates for the degree Doctor of Healthcare Mission Leadership from the Graduate School please rise? President Reed, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the degree Doctor of Healthcare Mission Leadership. The candidates have fulfilled all the requirements for their degrees, and I recommend that the degrees be conferred upon them.
Candidates, upon the recommendation of the Dean of the Graduate School and its faculty, and by the authority granted to Loyola University Chicago by the state of Illinois and vested in me by the university's Board of Trustees, I am pleased to confer upon you the Doctor of Healthcare Mission Leadership degrees for which you have been recommended. Congratulations.
The candidates for the degree Doctor of Healthcare Mission Leadership will now come forward to be recognized by name as directed by the marshals. Graduates will be hooded by Dr. Michael McCarthy, Director of the Doctoral Program in Healthcare Mission Leadership.
Receiving the degree of Doctor of Healthcare Mission Leadership. Dr. Tara Lynn Hausch. Dr. Joshua G. Diachim. Dr. Alfred Tumoy CJ. Dr. Austin Martin Schaefer. Dr. Janet McGrath Satterley. Congratulations, graduates.
The candidates for master's degrees and certificates from the graduate school will now be presented. Dean Barman will make the recommendations to the president, who in turn will confer the degrees.
Will the candidates for the master's degrees and certificates from the graduate school please rise? President Reed, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the degrees, Master of Arts, Master of Science, and the certificates from the graduate school. The candidates have fulfilled all the requirements for their degrees and certificates, and I recommend that the degrees and certificates be conferred upon them.
One more time, graduate school. Candidates, upon the recommendation of the Dean of the Graduate School and its faculty, and by the authority granted to Loyola University Chicago by the state of Illinois and vested in me by the Board of Trustees of this university, I confer upon you the master's degrees and the certificates for which you have been recommended. And as a sign of your new academic status, master's degree candidates, please don your hoods. That means put them on. Congratulations.
The candidates for master's degrees and certificates will now come forward and be recognized by name.
Receiving the degree of Master of Arts. Hadia Ali. Yashveen Aga. Victoria Diana Ariaga. Tobiloba Kehinde Owojobi. Michael Anubandham Awinkeng. Angelique R. Azuri. Caitlin Rose Bartels. Catherine Botafarano. Madeline Grace Beland. Anna Elizabeth Berg. Catherine Lynn Brager. Ian Mitchell Bremar. Anna Elizabeth Bryant. Grace Isabel Burleson. Haley Ann Carlton. Christopher Raymond Castaneda. Mariana Mitzel Castaneda. Connie Chan. Damian Siak. Caroline Elizabeth Dayton. Ria Day. Emma Demosthenes. Francisco Javier Diaz. Maria Consuela Dia de Valdez Navarrete. Brennan Paul Dewar. Jocelyn Duran. Anthony James Earl. Melissa Eakins. Nathaniel Albert Ellis. Farzana Farzam. Alexis Catherine Flaherty. Siloe Christina Flores. Samantha Jean Forey. Madeline Elizabeth Fowler. Grace Ellen Gatorna. Aditya Ganekar. Jackson Thomas Hassler. David Joseph Herr. Caroline R. Hauser. Daniel M. Hudziak. Varsha J. Alex Johnson. Richard Paul Joubert. Nikola Ilya Kamuskowski. Leonina Lally Kaltak. Daphne Eloise Carlin. Natalie Kathleen Kirk. Francisca Domenica Kleba. Kristen Marie Krabenhoft. Raymond Joseph Leesis. Kailash Reddy Madula. Ujay Davina Masina. Aros Garo Margarian. Erica Morales. Kaylee Moreland. Madeline Elise Morrissey. Amanda Grace Newbarth. Faith Van Wynn. Keelan Davis Norman Klatt. Sean M. O'Connell. Felix Bayode Oke. Jesse Marta Olstad. Lucia Romina Pereira. Olak Petrus. Mary Pins. Lisa Pinto. Emily Porter. Alexandra Kitsada. Kirsten Taylor Rampala. Ethan Joseph Roberts. Pamela Ruby. Alicia Talia Sanchez. Sophia Maria Sanchez. Brooke A. Sapper. Shay Lauren Sauer. Madeline Shoemaker. Madison Hope Slusser. Mallory Rose Smith. Harper Lee Stewart. Sarah Subitich. Chad Rooney Sipe. Megan May Tarnowski. Kava Vanagavalen. Grace Tony. Carmen Adriana Tucker. Jose Rosendo Tuesta. Trudy Valentino. Brianna Lauren Wright. Michael Patrick Panfil. Receiving the degree Master of Science, Nita Aima Muntu. Adedamola Olabunmi Ankitimen. Ashley Arellano. Farah Majdi Mohammed Albash. Faisal Ali. Deontay Allen. Mohammed S. Aminilari. Brian Jesse Aranda. Jaspreet Kaur Bhutani. Olivia Bokchanka with distinction. Reynolds Mark Boone. Hope Victoria Burnham. Taryn Elay Chauvin. Andrea Kai Wing Chu. Anna Svetkovich. Bailey Damour. Divya Dureja. Jackie Fang. Taylor Ann Fisher. Rosa Gowan. Nasaran Gorbani. Sai Saranya Dasari. Rachel Nicole Gordon with distinction. Andrew Michael Grusin. Thanush Kumar Guntapalli. Connor Gusher. Madeline Kyung Hihakala. Isabel Hurd. Ryan James Hyel. Miriam Rosette Aresiga Kabakorobaya. Purvaj Reddy Kandula. Cassidy Ann Kessinger. Puneeth Roy Kupula. Linda Likari. Alyssa Lorenzo. Jordan Alexis Mahome. Victoria Martinez Marcado. Lindsay Jane Miller. Hishamuddin Mohammed. Madeline Massetti Moran. Morris Fawengbe Mordi. Aaron Matthew Myrold. Nikita Nala. Adrian Opong. Anthony Charles Orso. Megan O'Toole. Heather Ann Otto. Ciara Lynn Paciencia. Shane Alexander Panchat. Alyssa Parafinchuk. Alyssa Romine. Bhuvachandra Pasupuleti. Tessa Mather Patton. Eric C. Pouch. Alyssa Kelly Peer. Clavino Pinta. Ninad Puaka. Pranshu Pujani. Emily Rose Rads. Maria Riedel. Yuan Ri with distinction. Jeffrey Kwame Ricketts Hagen. Dallas R. Rixey. Ryan M. Sabo. Mohammed Farasath Omer Sharif. Sandra Omobisola Opakunle. Catherine Sullivan. Sanmeet Singh. Fayez Ahmad Syed. Shahrukh Syed. Nicholas Michael Sinovic. Diala Tadros. Redate Tilahun. Vincent Ventola. Maria Delmar Villanueva Guzman. Kiara Rianne Villaraza. Natalia Volkova. Caroline Ann Weber. Lauren Nicole Vehosen. Stephanie Marie Judkins. Receiving the certificate in pharmacovigilance, Taylor Scott Elliott. Congratulations, graduates.
Congratulations to the class of 2024 from the Graduate School. The candidates for master's degrees from the Institute of Pastoral Studies will now be presented. Peter Jones, Interim Dean of the Institute of Pastoral Studies, will make the recommendation to the President, who in turn will confer the degrees.
Will the candidates for the master's degrees from the Institute of Pastoral Studies please rise? President Reed, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the degrees Master of Divinity and Master of Arts from the Institute of Pastoral Studies. The candidates have fulfilled all the requirements for their degrees, and I recommend that these be conferred upon them.
Candidates, upon the recommendation of the Dean of the Institute of Pastoral Studies and its faculty, and by the authority granted to Loyola University Chicago, by the state of Illinois, and vested in me by the Board of Trustees of our university, I am pleased to confer upon you the master's degrees for which you have been recommended. And as a sign of your new academic status, please don your hoods. Congratulations.
The candidates for master's degrees will now come forward to be recognized by name as directed by the marshals. Dr. Deborah Watson, Clinical Assistant Professor in the Institute of Pastoral Studies, will read the names of the graduates. Candidates who have not yet been taken out of their rows by the marshals may be seated again.
Receiving the dual degree, Master of Divinity and Masters of Arts of Pastoral Counseling, Rayandria Giles. Receiving the Master of Divinity, Lawrence Cubolcini. Receiving the Master of Divinity, Graziella Everett. Receiving the degree Master of Divinity, Dennis Ribicki. Congratulations. Receiving the Master of Arts in Christian Spirituality and Spiritual Direction, Christopher John Spilka. To T. Trin. Receiving the degree of Master of Arts in Counseling for Ministry, Redemptus Rage Jawa. Raj Kumar. Receiving the degree Master of Arts in Pastoral Counseling, Amanda Nero. Master of Arts in Pastoral Studies, Pedro Jose Espinal Asensio. Susan Dote. Hannah Coley. Teresita de Jesus Cacho Cabrera. Pius Nguyen. Emily Gumper. Valerie Ann Oliveras. Master of Arts in Pastoral Counseling, Eleanor Rodriguez. Master of Arts in Pastoral Counseling, Jerome Nirio Mese Soku. Receiving the degree of Master of Arts in Pastoral Studies, Ariel Acampanado Alanto. Maria Cabello. Vera Violeta Galeas. Sylvia Gonzalez Jimenez. Helen Jansen Guerrero. Ellen Mayer. Veronica Charlotte Rusk. Receiving the degree Master of Arts in Social Justice, Belen Morales. Receiving a dual degree, Masters in Social Justice and Master of Arts in Social Work, Carrie Ann Madden. Receiving a dual degree in the Master of Arts in Social Justice and Social Work, Deanna Phillips. Congratulations.
Congratulations to the class of 2024 graduates from the Institute of Pastoral Studies. Please direct your attention to the screens as we stream a video message from the Loyola Alumni Association, followed by remarks from President Reed.
Hello from Chicago. My name is Thad Wong from the class of 1996, and I am co-CEO of At Properties Christie's International Real Estate. I wish you all a big congratulations on one of the greatest accomplishments in your life, your graduation. After graduation, you are automatically welcomed as part of the Loyola University Chicago Alumni Association. It is now my pleasure to turn it over to my fellow alumnus, Dr. Steven Squinto. Dr. Squinto has had a remarkable career in the biotechnology company building and investing space. Speaking to you from Palm Beach, Florida, Dr. Steven Squinto.
Thanks, Thad, and congratulations to all of our graduates. I graduated from Loyola with 2 degrees. I am currently with J.P. Morgan Asset Management. I serve as the Chief Investment Officer and the Managing Partner of our newly created Life Sciences Private Capital Group. Loyola's goal is to find a meaningful way for all of our alumni to remain engaged with the university. For example, you can stay connected through Loyola's mentorship program, Loyola Linked. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Glennis Green. Dr. Green serves as the co-founder and executive director of the Black Researchers Collective. She joins us from Chicago, Illinois.
Thank you, Dr. Squinto, and congratulations, everyone. My name is Dr. Glennis Green, aka Dr. G, and I'm a 2009 graduate from the College of Arts and Sciences. A great way to stay in touch with Loyola is to keep in contact with professors and staff or attend one of the many alumni events. There will always be a way for you to stay connected. There are regional Rambler communities that you can be a part of, including in San Francisco, home of Reach Capital, co-founder and Loyola alum Jennifer Carolan. Jennifer taught in traditional public schools for 7 years, pursued an MA in education from Stanford, then went on to learn the craft of venture capital for almost a decade before co-founding Reach Capital.
Thank you so much, Dr. Green. I graduated from Loyola in 1997 from the College of Arts and Sciences. I'm a co-founder and partner at Reach Capital. Loyola was the first real mission-driven organization that I was a part of, and it had a major impact on my career, including the founding of Reach, a mission-driven venture fund focused on education. And it is so important to remain part of our community. So let's stay in touch. I urge you to take full advantage of these opportunities. Congratulations again on your graduation from Loyola University Chicago. You should be very proud. The best is yet to come. Go Ramblers!
Good afternoon again, class of 2024. I want to deviate just for a moment from the program here to let you know, if it rains on your graduation day, it's actually good luck. And I have it on reliable authority, that would be my Apple Watch, that the sun is going to come back out again. But on behalf of the faculty and staff and the entire Loyola University Chicago community, I want to offer you my heartfelt and deepest congratulations on this very special day. And I want to welcome, of course, the family and friends who are joining us here in the arena, and to all those who are watching us online. Now, graduates, will you please stand, just the graduates, if you're able. Now, graduates, I'd like you to join me in thinking for a moment and turning to acknowledge and to thank the people whose dreams of this day stretch all the way back to when you were born. Parents, family, friends who provided advice, support, and companionship on this journey. Now, all of you here have already graduated before, so this is at least your second, and in some cases, your third graduation. Yet these are special days for your family and friends. And so you know where they are in the arena. Why don't you turn to them and give them a round of applause and thanks. Now, graduates, years from now, and dare I say even days or hours from now, few, if any of you, will remember the president of Loyola University Chicago, who spoke at your graduation ceremony and shook your hands. However, you will vividly remember the remarkable faculty and staff that you encountered here. Of that, I am certain. You will benefit from their insight and care for the rest of your lives. And so, graduates, please honor the Loyola faculty and staff who share in your achievements and celebration, and join me in saying thank you to them. We have already heard wonderful reflections and remarks from our student and commencement speakers, so you can relax. This is going to be brief. I say simply to you that you have been privileged to be part of the Jesuit educational experience that is nearly 500 years old and more than 150 years old here at Loyola. We seek to educate and to form the next generation of leaders who will be capable of shaping the future with competence, vision, justice, and charity, with a sense of calling, with concern for all of the human family. And you've received much during your time at Loyola, but remember that your education ultimately isn't just for you. It's for you to serve and to make a difference in your community, your family, your chosen profession, and the lives of others. So graduates, go forward and embrace your futures boldly and confidently. And always remember that you are loved. We love you, your parents, family, and friends love you, and God loves you. Thank you very much. Now, graduates, it's your turn to be seated. And everyone else here in the arena, if you are able, I invite you to please stand and join me in a final blessing over our graduates. No, graduates, you sit. Graduates, you sit. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a little dark up here to see. You're the faculty standing. My apologies. Okay, back to the program. So all those standing, I invite you to extend your hand and join me in the blessing that will appear on the screens. Graduates, may God bless you and sustain you on this your graduation day. May the Creator of this vast universe keep you safe as you go forth from this place that has nourished your mind and your soul. May the Almighty look down upon you and give you success in all your endeavors, courage in all your struggles and challenges, understanding in all that is new to you, wisdom to choose what is right and do what is good, perseverance in all you undertake, serenity and peace in the knowledge that you are not alone, that you are loved. May the Lord of all look kindly upon you this day and forever. Amen. Congratulations, graduates.
Will our graduates please rise? It is now my privilege to invite Madeline Rose Morrison, candidate for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts in Music, Vocal Performance, and Bachelor of Business Administration Management, cum laude, to lead the community in the Loyola University alma mater. Madeline will be accompanied by the Loyola Wind Ensemble.
Voices strong are
Thank our talented musicians. Let's give them all a round of applause. We ask that the audience please be seated until the recessional from the stage and the graduates have left the arena. Following the recessional, please join the graduates for a reception in the atrium.